Well, Pakistan, when my government came to power, we inherited two of the biggest deficits in Pakistan. One is the fiscal deficit, which means what we were collecting in tax money and what we were spending. There was the biggest deficit. And the second deficit was the current account deficit. In other words, the dollars that were coming into Pakistan were small compared to the dollars going out of Pakistan. It was, for us, it was the biggest ever deficit in our history. So we had to take steps to stabilize our economy, because if you have a big current account deficit, means it puts pressure on your currency. And our currency, our rupee, was falling in Pakistan, and the currency lost almost 35% of its value. And so the first thing was to stabilize the currency. And for that, we had to contract this big deficit. So I must congratulate my economic team. They did a great job. We have curtailed the current account deficit by almost 75%. And our rupee has stabilized. Confidence in our economy is growing. Our stock market has gone up. We have, year to year, we have a big jump in our foreign investment. So the country is stable right now. Now it's a question of keeping it stable. It's still a struggle ahead, but we are now, we are out of the big crisis which we had inherited. You're talking about politics or the economy?
Economic politics.
You see, so whenever you stabilize your economy, and when you have a huge deficit, and the worry is that the bigger the deficit, not only does your currency fall, but there's inflation. And inflation hits the common people. So at the moment, our inflation is still high, but the currency is stable and the economy is stable. Now the next challenge for us is to bring down the inflation and start a growth in the country. So we have a very ambitious housing plan in Pakistan, affordable housing for the less privileged section of the society. The idea of the housing is to give affordable housing to an ordinary people, at the same time get the economy moving, provide employment to people. So that's really our next program. We are concentrating on enhancing our growth rate so we can provide jobs to our younger people. You see, Pakistan inherited a similar situation to Malaysia. When Mahathir Mohamad came to power, he inherited a big deficit, and the reason for deficit was corruption of the previous ruling elite. Exactly the same thing happened in Pakistan. The reason why we were bankrupt, because we had corrupt governments for 10 years. Exactly the same thing happened with Mahathir Mohamad. But their crisis was not as bad as Pakistan. So the problem he faces now also is this corrupt, the status quo, the corrupt mafias that were displaced. They then are constantly trying to bring the government or destabilize the government. If we had a proper opposition, this would be applauding the difficult steps taken by our government to stabilize our economy. There was a possibility we could have defaulted on our loans, on our foreign loans, because we had a huge amount of debt servicing to do. And had we defaulted on our loan, then inflation would have been double in Pakistan, because our currency would have lost more value. So rather than congratulating the government for stabilizing the economy, they are worried that if we succeed, this political mafia will be dead and buried forever. So that's why they are desperate, and they're criticizing the economy. They have penetrations. They've been in power for 30 years. So they have deep roots. So that's what we face. It's not a normal opposition. It's a corrupt ruling elite that has been displaced by us.